My dear children, gather close. Tonight, Grandpa's got a tale that'll chill your bones and make you lock your doors twice. It's a story of darkness, of a man who walked the night, cursed to do unspeakable things while his mind slept. This is the Sleepwalker's curse, a true nightmare that unfolded in a quiet town not so far from here. By the end, I'll share some advice to keep you safe from the shadows that lurk when the world goes still. So sit tight, my dears, and listen well. It began in the small town of Willow Creek, nestled deep in a valley where the mist clung to the earth like a shroud. Thomas Reed was a man like any other, or so folks thought, a carpenter by trade. He lived alone in a modest house at the edge of town. Thomas was kind, always quick with a smile, but there was something about his eyes distant, like he was searching for something he couldn't name. Nobody paid it much mind, not until the first incident. One autumn night, when the moon hung low and the air was thick with frost, a scream tore through Willow Creek. The town's butcher, Mr. Harrow, was found dead in his shop, his throat slashed clean. Blood pooled on the floor, and the cleaver he used for his trade was missing. The town was shaken. Willow Creek was a place where folks left their doors unlocked, where neighbors were family. A murder like this, it was unthinkable. The sheriff, a gruff man named Caldwell, questioned everyone, but no one had seen a thing. No strangers had passed through. No enemies of Harrow's could be named. The only clue was a muddy footprint by the shop's back door, too smudged to trace. Folks whispered of a drifter, maybe a vengeful spirit, but the truth was far stranger. Weeks passed, and the town tried to heal. Thomas Reed went about his work, carving wood into furniture, his hands steady, but his eyes still lost. Then it happened again. Widow Margaret, who lived alone on the hill, was found lifeless in her garden, her neck bruised as if strangled by unseen hands. This time, there was a witness, a neighbor who swore they saw a figure slipping into the mist, moving like a ghost. The figure was tall, lean, and wore a familiar coat. It looked, they said, like Thomas Reed. Now, my children, let me pause to tell you something important. Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, if the hairs on your neck stand up, don't ignore it. The world has dangers we can't always see, and your heart often knows before your mind does. Thomas's neighbors ignored their unease, and that was their mistake. The town turned on Thomas. Sheriff Caldwell brought him in, but Thomas was bewildered. He swore he'd been home, asleep, both nights. His bed was unmade, his boots clean, and no blood or stolen cleaver was found in his house. Still, suspicion clung to him like damp rot. Folks stopped buying his furniture, crossed the street when he passed. Thomas began to withdraw, his smiles gone, his eyes hollow. Then came the third night. A young girl, Emily, barely 16, vanished from her bed. Her parents found the window open, the curtains torn. The town searched frantically, and at dawn, they found her in the woods, alive but trembling, her wrists bound with rope. She spoke of a man who came in the night, his face pale, his eyes blank, like he wasn't truly there. He tied her up, she said, but then he stopped, as if waking from a dream, and fled. She described Thomas Reed. This time, the town didn't wait for the sheriff. A mob marched to Thomas's house, torches blazing. They found him asleep, his clothes muddy, his hands scratched, a length of rope on his floor matching Emily's bindings. Thomas woke to their shouts, confusion turning to terror. He swore he hadn't left his bed, that he had no memory of the night. But the evidence was damning. Now, my dears, let's talk about justice. Anger can blind you, make you see a monster where there's only a man. The mob wanted blood, but they didn't know the whole story. Always seek the truth, even when it's hard to find. It might save a soul, or your own. Thomas was locked in the town's small jail, awaiting trial. But the story doesn't end there. A doctor from the city, Dr. Ellis, heard of the case and came to Willow Creek. He was a man of science, studying the mind's mysteries. He met Thomas, saw the fear in his eyes, and asked questions no one else had. Did Thomas dream vividly? Did he wake tired, as if he hadn't slept? Did he ever find things out of place? Thomas nodded to all of it, tears streaming down his face. Dr. Ellis suspected a rare condition, a curse of the mind. Thomas was a sleepwalker, but not the kind who merely wanders. In his sleep, he was under a spell, acting out dark impulses his waking self could never imagine. The doctor explained that stress, grief, or trauma could trigger such episodes, twisting the mind into a puppet of its own shadows. Thomas had lost his wife years before, a wound he never spoke of. That pain, Dr. Ellis believed, had festered, turning his sleep into a battlefield. The town was skeptical, but Dr. Ellis begged for a chance to prove it. He stayed with Thomas in the jail, watching him through the night. Sure enough, Thomas rose, eyes open but unseeing, and moved with purpose. He reached for a key on the wall, as if to escape, but Dr. Ellis gently guided him back to bed. The next morning, Thomas remembered nothing. The trial was a storm. Some called it witchcraft, others madness. Dr. Ellis testified, explaining the science of sleepwalking, how the body could act while the mind slept. He spoke of cases where men had stolen, fought, even killed, all without knowing. The jury was torn, but Emily's testimony swayed them. She said Thomas's eyes weren't cruel, just empty. He wasn't a monster, just a man lost in a nightmare. Thomas was spared the gallows, but sent to an asylum, where Dr. Ellis promised to help him. The town never fully recovered. Some still locked their doors, fearing the curse wasn't gone. Others pitied Thomas, wondering what demons haunted his sleep. The truth of the butcher's cleaver and widow Margaret's death was never fully settled. Some say Thomas's hands did the deeds. Others believe another killer hid in the chaos. The mystery lingers, a shadow over Willow Creek. My children, let me share some wisdom before we part. Protect your mind as fiercely as your body. Grief, anger, pain, they can fester, turning you into someone you don't recognize. Talk to someone you trust. Let the light in, or the darkness might take hold. And if you ever feel watched in the night, check your windows, lock your doors, and keep a light burning. The world is full of curses we don't yet understand. Now, my dears, I need you to do something for Grandpa. If this story touched your heart, if it made you think or shiver, hit that like button. It tells me you're listening, that you're part of this family. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. Join us here, where we face the dark together. It's not just a button. It's a promise that you'll sit with Grandpa for the next tale, and the next. I pour my soul into these stories, and knowing you're out there, my children, keeps me going. Until next time, stay safe, stay sharp, and sleep with one eye open. Good night.